that was the start of the wormhole, and then we just went full force.
The cursed analogy strikes again. Darren, I thought we'd start with headlines tonight.
Okay.
We are 1 week out from Fat Tuesday.
Oh yeah.
So
It is time.
what kind of debauchery do you have planned for your Fat Tuesday this year?
Are you ready? I'm about to blow your mind. King cake.
Can you really say that king cake is a debauchery?
Well, no, that's probably, but that's about as wild as it's going to get.
Can you imagine if somebody had the insanely horrible idea to make sugar-free king cake? That would be debauchery, my friend.
Oh, that's just not even.
Debauchery.
Why would? Yeah, that's a great. That's very accurate. That's not even. That's what's Bobby Boucher's? That would be of the devil. That's what.
You make a lot of trips out to California with work. You know, if I was going to think of any place that might try to do
You're spot on. That's
that
exactly where it would
Frankenstein
happen.
of a king cake, it
Yeah,
would be California.
there or Colorado. I heard a comedian one time referred to Colorado as a place, Denver, Colorado, as a place with a bunch of crunchy people. I'm not even sure what that means, with weird ideas. So it could be Denver too.
Crunchy people with weird ideas.
Yeah. Oh, I wish I could remember that guy's name. He is so funny. Derek Stroop is the guy's name. He
Mm,
tours with Nate Bargatze.
okay.
Very funny. Very funny.
One of the cool things about Fat Tuesday is not just, the biggest debauchery you and I are going to do is we'll probably eat too much of stuff that we
Right.
shouldn't eat, and
Absolutely.
that's probably the totality of it.
Yep.
The good news is that not only is the next day Ash Wednesday, which kicks off the Lent season,
That's
but
right.
it's the first day of the SEC women's tournament
That's a beautiful
kicking
thing.
off, which means we are in the stretch run to March Madness.
And it also means we're obviously not giving up basketball for Lent. Obviously, that's not happening.
No, no,
That's not happening. So
no. I think I'm going to have to give up something related to king cakes, sweets, or whatever, because
there
I'm
you
telling
go.
you, Darren, I can count on one hand the number of days since Mardi Gras season has started that I've not had a slice of king cake.
It is a beautiful, beautiful thing.
On one hand.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, let's talk about SEC women's basketball, where the conference is still representing extremely well. We saw some big
Absolutely.
games this weekend. LSU going to Kentucky, down early, coming back from 16, a
Yeah.
thrilling victory. We saw two quality teams there, but right now we have a new number one because Notre Dame, who was number one, lost to NC State. That propelled the Texas Longhorns up to that top spot. Congratulations
Good
to
for them.
Texas. South Carolina holding steady at number 6, LSU at number 7, Tennessee at 11, Oklahoma at 13, Kentucky at 15, and Alabama at 20. Those are your top 20 SEC women's basketball teams. And coming up this week, we have, I think, there's tough games across the board, Darren,
Yeah.
but two that stand out to me, and they both involve Kentucky.
Hmm.
Tennessee is coming to town on Thursday night.
Yeah.
Now, Kentucky coming off that loss to LSU, they got to get a win. We're
Yeah.
heading
Absolutely.
into postseason play, and another reason they need that win against Tennessee is they go to Columbia, South Carolina on Sunday, and that is no easy task.
And that's horrible that you pay number 6 and number 11 in the week leading up to your tournament. But at the same time, what an opportunity to advance. I mean, can you imagine if Kentucky figured out 2-0 coming
Yeah.
out of that stretch going into the tournament? I mean, you talk about coming in hot. They are coming into the tournament hot if they figured that stretch out for sure.
Yeah, you mentioned there Kentucky's playing the number 6 team and the number 11 team this
Hmm.
week.
Right.
like I guess what's the conference that Connecticut plays in? Yukon
The,
women. I don't think they have that issue on their schedule.
I think they're going to
Um,
play. I think they're going to play the number 109 and the number 216 teams. I think that's
they're going to play someone else. They're going to beat by I don't know
yeah,
50
about
points.
30. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, and you could also probably make that same argument about Notre Dame, which I was surprised them being a number one, and they gave up. Were they the first number one in how many years to give up over 100 points in a game?
Oh yeah, I remember seeing that. I don't remember how many years, but yeah.
Yeah,
And that gosh, I know we have an SEC podcast. The fact that we're SEC homers should probably know one at this point. If you're just not figuring it out, that's on you. Okay, so to me, the fact that you say that kind of sense about Notre Dame, the number one team, first one to give up 100 points and blah, that just tells you how off sometimes. Some might even say a lot of the times the top 25 are for both men's and women's basketball. I think you can make that argument.
yeah, yeah. It's wide open as far as the SEC is concerned. The tournament will
Absolutely.
run from March 5th to March 9th.
Hmm.
It's up for grabs for anybody. When you look at this, Texas has beaten South Carolina. They've beaten LSU. They've proven they can win those big
Yep.
games.
Yep.
LSU still their two losses were to Texas and South Carolina. I
Hmm.
think Texas is beatable. So South
Yep.
Carolina, but for whatever reason, LSU has this mental block, and they can't get past. Oh, it's South
Yep.
Carolina. It's almost like they look at the jerseys. Okay, I'm not sure we can win this. It's kind of like remember how long it took the Detroit Pistons to get past. Uh, who is it? The Celtics or the Bulls? Which one? Which
The
one? Is,
Bulls. The Bulls. Wasn't that during that Bulls versus Bad Boys kind of run?
yeah, I thought the Bad Boys came before the Bulls run. Was it this? Because the Celtics were trying to get past or the Pistons were
This-
trying to get past the Celtics.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I think. Man, the '80s seems like yesterday, except when you're trying to remember a sports back.
Exactly. All right. Somebody's watching this right now screaming, no, please put it in the comments. Please let
I
us
want to
know.
say, all right, here's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
All right.
It was the
I'm
Pistons
listening.
trying to get past the Celtics, and then the Bulls trying to get past the Pistons.
That sounds right.
That's my story.
That very much sounds right. And then you had that little bitty moment kind of afterwards, a little bit afterwards, where the Jazz had some really good runs with Stockton and Malone, but they could just do nothing with the Bulls. That had a little bit of that
Well,
shape to it as well.
the difference is they never won a title. The Pistons and
Right.
Bulls both won multiple titles.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. The Jazz just would get right there and be like, all right, this is maybe this is their year. No, no, you got to get past the Bulls. It's not your year.
unfortunately, your best teams were during the prime of Michael Jordan's career. Sorry.
Exactly. Yeah. Can you imagine you remove the Bulls, especially how dominant those teams with Stockton and Malone would have been? I mean,
Yeah,
ridiculously dominant.
yeah, they were great teams,
Yep.
and just talking about how good Jordan was,
Oh,
I think that's lost on people today. Of course, every generation wants to tout their guys as the greatest ever,
mhm.
but I see some great players in the NBA today. I still don't see anybody at Jordan's level.
And you know what? I think the thing that people don't talk about enough about Jordan when you're comparing him to other generations is what he did for players around him. Because I honestly believe, and I could be wrong, but I honestly believe Pippen is not the player we look back now and see him as if he wasn't around Jordan every day, if he wasn't pushed by him every day. I don't think Rodman goes anywhere else and does what he does with the Bulls consistently year after year, even though it was a shorter amount of time. But still, if he wasn't there on that team and pushed by Jordan every day, I mean, think, do we even know what John Paxson's name is if he's not on that team? I mean, yeah,
Hmm.
I mean, we could just keep making a list of players, but I think that's one of the things that's maybe missed and not talked about very much. how he elevated everybody around him. It wasn't just that he was great; he pushed everybody around him.
Yeah, it's interesting. I watched Rodman play in college, and he played for it was an NAIA school, like
Mm-hmm.
Southwest Oklahoma State or something like that. And he was he was like, I think he was a 20 plus point per game
Yeah,
scorer.
yeah.
Not only was he a rebounder and a defender, he was a scorer. And that's not the image we have of him in the NBA, where he was
Oh no.
primarily a defender and a rebounder. So
Defending machine or defending expert and a rebound machine. Yeah. North Central Texas and then Southeastern Oklahoma State. So you were spot
Southeastern,
on.
that's it. Yeah.
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 Yeah. You
Mhm.
were spot on. You were right there.
Yep. So speaking of men's basketball, let's look at the SEC men's
Well,
teams.
let's look at women's bracketology. Uh,
Oh, okay. Well, how did we get off on talking about the NBA?
LSU women, South Carolina women. LSU women not being able to overcome.
Oh,
That was the start of the wormhole, and then we just went full force.
the cursed analogy strikes again.
Exactly.
Hey, let's interrupt these two older guys on their podcast, and we'll take them way off script.
Exactly. Well, I don't know about you, but it's not exactly a challenge for me. I can get off script in a hurry.
All right, let's talk about SEC bracketology for the women. Darren, what you got?
Well, we've got. I still kept it in the. This is more Lenardi. We look kind of pulling straight for him, and I still kept those, even though the committee didn't put out a top 16 this week. I still kept kind of where the committee had the top 16. If obviously if they're still in the tournament. The other thing we added this week is we wanted to highlight anyone that's a 5 seed or higher projected. Obviously. So you've still got South Carolina, Texas in that top 16, obviously in the tournament, projected as 1 seeds. LSU is a 2 seed. Kentucky is a 3. Oklahoma and Texas at 4s. Then we've got Alabama and Ole Miss solidly in the tournament. Vanderbilt, Mississippi State solidly in the tournament. And Alabama and Ole Miss are projected 5 seeds. And again, just like there was last week, there is no in between. Either you're in the dance or you're on the outside looking in. We don't have anybody in the SEC that has played themselves either down or up into the last 4 in. So those teams are still the teams that are out as of right now, and I don't see that changing a whole lot as far as who's out. Like we talked about, there's still some great opportunities with the games that Kentucky has this weekend. Uh, they could elevate their position as far as a seed, but that's kind of where we stand right now.
So these are Lenardi's projections, right?
Correct. Correct.
We're looking at 10 SEC women's teams in the tournament.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
And 8 of those 10 being 5 seed or higher.
Mm,
Pretty
wow.
incredible. Pretty
Yeah,
incredible.
absolutely. Absolutely. Good stuff. Good
Yep.
stuff.
Definitely.
All right, now can we move over to the men?
Yes, we can. Just like Bob the Builder. Yes, we can. Don't ask me where that reference came from. I guess it's going to be a rabbit hole kind of night or a wormhole kind of night.
See that was a huge carrot you dangled in front of my, because there's a really nice park near where we live. You ever been to Field of Dreams Park by the Little League fields?
I have not.
They've done
I know where you're talking about, but I haven't been there.
incredible renovation, put in super nice equipment. It's all covered. But when our son was 3, his 3-year-old birthday was a Bob the Builder birthday.
Nice.
So thanks for that,
Nice.
Darren.
Bob the Builder, you've got children the age that we have. Bob the Builder is an intricate, important part of the puzzle.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right. All right. Let's leave Bob behind and let's go to the SEC men's current top 25 teams. Auburn holding on to that number one.
Mhm.
I don't see how they're not going to be the number one overall seed in the men's
I,
tournament.
I
It's
agree.
just
I agree.
they'd have to have a total collapse.
Mhm.
Florida, how good is Florida looking?
I'm telling you, and kind of it's unfair to say out of nowhere, but comparative to kind of, at least for me, where I saw them at the start of the year and the way they've just continued to accelerate, really impressive what they're doing.
Yeah. I was watching that Florida LSU game where LSU was actually up at the half,
Yep. Yep.
and it was a sweet dream. And then I heard the trumpet of Louis Armstrong wake me up back to reality as Florida just was a different team in the
Yeah.
second half, and
Yeah.
they continue to roll. Tennessee at number 5. Tennessee, I really like this Volunteers team. I know you're
Agree.
not a big Tennessee guy, but
But
this
they're
team
good.
is so good.
Yep.
Alabama looking tough. They had a 10-point comeback against Kentucky, the
Mhm.
10 first double digit lead I think that Kentucky's had this year where they've lost the
Yeah.
game.
They've blown it. Yep.
A&M, Buzz Williams continues is to do a good job at A&M.
Yep.
Number 12, Dennis Gates at Missouri is holding steady at 14. Mark Pope, Kentucky, still an up and down season.
Yep.
Still some question marks for the Wildcats, and then Mississippi State at number 24. So when we look at this week's games, Darren, tonight, Tuesday night, when this podcast comes out, Mississippi State is going to Tuscaloosa to face Alabama. Now, I think Mississippi, both teams are already in the tournament, but this is an
Right.
opportunity for Mississippi State to make a statement.
To elevate. Absolutely.
Then Wednesday night, your Vanderbilt Commodores travel to College Station.
Oof.
You don't feel too optimistic?
I am not. That uh, their road woes this season, especially in the second half, combined with the intensity of this Texas A&M team, uh, I'm not excited.
What is up with you Vanderbilt fans? You're so nervous about being optimistic. Did you like read a book by Lou Holtz on how to be uh, fans? Because this is what he
No.
did as a coach. It was always gloom and doom. And
As Vanderbilt fans, we've lived what Lou Holtz likes to pretend he's lived. Our reality was what he was making up.
oh yeah, I don't know how we're gonna win. They're so good. I don't. I mean, we heard it every week. It's crazy, and it just makes
The
me think of that. Darren, be proud of your team. Cheer them on. Yeah, they're having a great season. They got a heck of a chance to beat A&M.
quintessential Vanderbilt moment when those words are spoken. Greatest example of that. This was a long time ago. Woody Woodenhall for years in football, but the Mississippi State was coming to town. Mississippi State was not very good. Vanderbilt had started off. There were even bowl conversations. It was homecoming. Vanderbilt's going to win. It's not even a conversation. Vanderbilt is going to win this game. They introduced new gold jerseys to play the game in. Mississippi State scored on the second play from scrimmage on a straight 12 give right up the middle, 61 yards, and never looked back. Beat Vanderbilt 54 to nothing. Vanderbilt fans live what Lou Holtz pretends to live.
All right, that's a strong case. There must be something in the water in Tennessee.
I'm
Remember,
telling you.
we've had Tennessee super fan Brandon on here,
Yep,
and
yep.
Brandon's the same way. He
Oh,
talks about
that's
this Tennessee basket, and
true.
he's like, "Oh, they're going to blow it. They're going to lose." And it's like you guys, something about you
That's
both grew up in
interesting.
Tennessee.
Yeah.
Is it something in the water? Is it something that you ate as children? Is it the educational system that you both had to go through? I don't know.
It could have been the poke salad and the moonshine. Who knows? I don't know. Anyway.
Well, talk about getting distracted. We're just talking about Tennessee being number 5. Oh, we're talking about games
Yeah.
this week. That's right.
Yeah. Games. Yeah.
Ole Miss has a big game Wednesday night at Auburn. Texas and Arkansas. Texas goes to Fayetteville, both trying
Mhm.
to get into the
Yeah.
postseason. Kentucky at Oklahoma. I think this is a must-win game for the Wildcats and
Yep.
Mark Pope
Agree completely.
because on Saturday they've got Auburn coming to Lexington.
Yep.
If you drop 2 more games this week, now you've got 11 losses.
Yeah.
Suddenly, you're going to be in a different spot on Lunardi's postseason projections.
Yeah. You're missing some pretty important benchmarks in the L and the win column both.
And that game at Oklahoma is not going to be easy because, as we'll talk about in a minute, Oklahoma has shifted in those projections, and
Yep,
this is a must-win game for them as well.
absolutely it is. Definitely.
So, other games to look for on Saturday, I've mentioned Auburn, Kentucky. Alabama goes to Knoxville to play Tennessee. That's a huge
Ooh,
game.
that'll be
Uh, I'm
great.
I'm really A&M going to Florida. We'll see what the Aggies can do, and I'm really
Mhm.
interested in this Missouri at Vanderbilt game on Saturday.
I agree. I think that's it's going to be an interesting matchup. Obviously, things feel a little bit more favorable for Vanderbilt just when you look at their record at home in Memorial Gym versus on the road. And that's going to be interesting to see how that game plays out because I say it's a more favorable matchup. It is a more favorable matchup, but there are actually some really quality components of the matchup from both teams. I think it's a pretty equal. It could really be an exciting game.
What we need to do is that gym is laid out so it's so different from any other place, and
Yep,
I've never been in it personally. I've just seen it on TV, so I have trouble wrapping my mind around what it's like on the inside. So we need to make a trip to Nashville. We can hang out on Broadway. Maybe we can like
absolutely.
get in touch with Josh Pate. He's got a little known podcast. What
He,
that like
couple of people have watched it.
hundred
Yeah,
thousand people listen to every episode. So
people.
we'll just call him up. You probably have his cell number.
Yeah, that's right.
You've got
Just shoot him
everybody's
a
cell
text.
number.
Yeah, just shoot him a text.
But yeah, I would like to take that in. And maybe we need to do a tour, SEC football stadiums, baseball,
Oh,
or stadium, and basketball gymnasiums, arenas.
that would be fantastic. Memorial is, and of course I'm biased, but Memorial is a very unique experience. It is
Mhm.
an incredible venue to watch a ball game in.
Yeah. I really like so I know there's something to be said for the big arenas. You look at
Mhm.
Rupp Arena, it's huge. But I've been watching, as we've talked about in the past. I know we don't cover the Big 12 anymore. I'm still a big Houston Cougar fan. I love Kelvin
Absolutely.
Sampson and the way
Hmm.
his guys play for him. But I was watching them the other night or other day playing, and they don't have a huge gym.
No,
And I love something about the smaller environment. And I think it really helps you in terms of home court advantage.
especially in basketball, it gives you that, and with the way, especially on the collegiate level, smaller gyms are built. It really gives you that feel of the crowd. It doesn't matter if it's 8,000, 10,000, whatever, just on top of you, and it really is incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. Good stuff. So, some big games coming up for the men as well, men and women's basketball. The men's tournament will kick off on March 12th, run through the 16th of March. So, a few days before March Madness officially launches.
Mhm.
And I don't know, can anybody beat Auburn? And what would your approach be, Darren? Let's say you're Bruce Pearl and you have the number one team in the country, most likely
Mhm.
looking at a number one overall seed. Does it enter your mind heading into the SEC tournament? I need to rest some guys. I want to make sure my guys, some of my best players, don't get hurt. Or do you just say no? We want to win the SEC regular season. We want to win the SEC tournament, and we want to be a number one seed. How do you process all that?
I think you very much present those goals, but I think you have to figure out a way to balance not stifling any momentum and limiting minutes, not necessarily for rest, but just injury. That's the thing. Can you imagine I guess probably your best case scenario is you coach your guys. We're going to come out strong. We're going to do everything we can to smother. Hopefully, we get up on some people, and we can get guys on the bench in a hurry. Because can you imagine going into the tournament and having another Janai Broom ankle roll? And now, not only are you not going to be the same in the tournament, but you're looking at your first round game, not having him, not having another guy, and I would, yeah, I think he's got to be mindful of that. And you can, obviously, there's a balance that can be found. It's the hardest thing in the world to do, obviously, but I think he has to figure that out on some level, because you have to, just in mitigating injury risk, you've got to figure out a way to get some guys on the bench.
Let's look at it from a different angle. Go ahead and put up Lunardi's projections. So let's say another thing to consider if you're Auburn, for example, is you've got a chance to officially knock out Oklahoma or Arkansas, and you rest your guys, and let's say the Sooners or the Razorbacks sneak into the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
That has a way of coming back to bite teams.
Very true.
So I'm kind of the mindset, we play the game. Yeah, you can't live in your fears. You can't live, oh my goodness, where someone might get hurt. It's basketball. You don't know what's going to happen.
Very true.
But I think when you have a chance to knock out a conference opponent in a
Mm-hmm.
conference tournament, knock them out from uh the dance, the big bracket, that you do it. You don't give them any breath. You don't let them sneak into the tournament. You take care of your business.
And that's why, I said maybe one of the approaches is, get on top and smother. See if we can, see if we can get the game out of reach in a hurry. Be overly aggressive, really depend on transitional, and
Oh,
I think that might be an option that I would possibly pursue, because you're right. You can't coach scared, because that's when things happen. I mean, that's
yeah.
just Murphy's law. If you coach scared and have this plan of, we're going to do this and do that and do this, you're 30 seconds into a game and a guy's on the floor holding an ankle, holding a knee. I mean, it's Murphy's law.
Yeah. Sorry, when you said the word smothered, I didn't follow you. I was thinking smothered, covered, scattered. Uh, and then my next thought was, why don't we do a remote at Waffle House?
I am all in, because you can say anything you want to about Waffle House, but you cannot, unless you just are a fan of sacrilege, speak negatively of the All Star Breakfast. Just period. You just can't.
I had a food kind of snobby person say to me one time, I just can't eat at Waffle House. You don't know what they're doing to your food. So I said, come on, we're going to Waffle House. We
Hmm.
sat there and I'm like, look, you can watch the person, the cook, fix your food
Everything they
right.
do.
You see everything is out in the open. They're not hiding anything.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I don't care who you are, the waffles are good. Period.
Oh,
If you're a waffle person, they're outstanding.
the food is good. The food is
Yep.
good. So,
Period.
all right, let's talk about some bracketology. I'm getting hungry for SEC teams. And Darren, go through this kind of like you did with the women.
So we've still got those that were in the committee's top 16 separated out. You've got Auburn, who Lenardi is projecting as not only a 1 seed, but the number one overall seed. Then the additional number one seeds are Alabama and Florida. You've got a 2 seed projected for Tennessee, and 3 seeds projected for A&M and Kentucky, which goes back to the importance of that game, the very thing you were talking about. There are 2 games that they've got left. Then those that are seen as in the dance are Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Texas, and Missouri, with Ole Miss and Texas. I'm sorry, yeah, no, Mississippi State and Missouri both being projected as by Lenardi as 5 seeds. Now, some changes from last week to this week from where we were looking at bracketology. Vanderbilt, even though they had a loss on Tuesday and a win on Wednesday, or on Saturday, sorry, has slid into last 4 in, and Arkansas has maintained their spot as last 4 in. And then on the other side of that, Georgia, or in addition to that, Georgia has went from a last 4 in last week to being now projected to join LSU and South Carolina as being on the outside looking in and not making it to the dance this year.
Yeah, I think I don't have any argument with his currently where things sit.
No, no, I don't either. But I do want to just again emphasize and add to what you said. Kentucky's games are very important this week. Vanderbilt, Arkansas, extremely important games this week. Oh, and Oklahoma was in the dance and is now out. I forgot that. I apologize. So obviously, Oklahoma is playing for their life along with Georgia. Their games are very important this week. There are some really big games, even if they're not highly, one seed versus two seed, or number one versus number two, or five versus 16, or whatever. There are some very important games in how this is all going to shake up with the games we've got left.
And that makes the games intriguing. You look at
Absolutely.
Wednesday night, Kentucky at Oklahoma.
Hmm.
You could say, regardless, Kentucky's in, but as we talked about, they're going to get in a dicey situation if they don't
Yep.
take care of business. Oklahoma, it's a must win game. So this game is going to have very much a postseason feel to it. And I think there could be some changes. If Tennessee runs the table, they win the SEC tournament, do you really
Yes.
keep them out of being a one seed?
Yeah. Exactly. Agree completely. And we talked about Vanderbilt's games with A&M and Missouri. A&M and Missouri both are in good positions for the most part. They won't be dramatically affected by losing to Vanderbilt. Uh, However, on the other side of that coin, if Vanderbilt goes 2-0 in that stretch, that has a dramatic effect on where they are going into the tournament. And also, if they go 0-2, even though they were losing to projected five seeds, that has a dramatic difference on how they look.
Yeah, yeah. Well said. Well said. Got a lot of good games to watch.
Oh yeah.
But basketball is not the only sport going on right now. SEC
Nay,
baseball has
nay.
kicked off, and like every other sport, top 25, you don't have to look far to find SEC teams.
That is
Look at
correct.
this for baseball.
Wow.
Can we just take that in for a second?
just enjoy.
For those of you who are listening to this, here's how it goes: A&M number 1, Tennessee number 2, LSU number 3, Arkansas number 4, Florida number 6, Georgia 10, Texas 12, Vanderbilt 13, Mississippi State 15, Kentucky 23, Alabama 25. You almost have to stop and take a breath to get all those in.
That is so incredible. What's that? 11 of the top 25 are SEC teams. That's absolutely incredible. And props to Alabama. Oh, we were talking off air. Man, they were down big to Ohio State and just went on a 12 unanswered run. That's kind of a weird sentence. That culminated in a 3-run walk-off home run. So they played themselves into that spot just by how they played this weekend and having that big of a win. And Kentucky had a big weekend as well. Their bats finally came alive for the first time. A couple of teams lost games for the first time, but we still right now in this 11 teams in the top 25, we have four unbeatens and seven teams, but four unbeatens and seven teams. That's right, with one loss. Four unbeaten, seven teams with one loss. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, and it was cold this past weekend in a lot of places. As the
Yep.
weather warms up, I know down here in Louisiana, we should be in the 70s this week. It's going to start feeling more and more like baseball.
Yes. And I am all for it. My
Never a
feelings are
dull
not
moment.
hurt. Exactly.
We appreciate you for watching, listening to the show. Would you do us a favor and hit that subscribe button? That way, whenever new episodes drop out and we're or drop out, drop, come out, drop,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
arrive.
There you go.
You will receive an automatic notification if you have your notifications turned on. We're getting ready to start March Madness. You don't want to miss any
Oh
bonus
yeah.
episodes that will come out during this time. New episodes typically come out on Tuesdays. So subscribe, like, tell a friend, follow us on social media. We love the interaction. We love that you love the SEC like we do. And we hope that you enjoy a week's worth of basketball, baseball,
Absolutely.
softball, gymnastics, whatever you like to watch in the SEC.
Absolutely.
Until next week, y'all take care.
Have a great week. Thank you for making the Brew and Shaver Sports Podcast your go-to sports show. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review our show if you haven't already. Your feedback is important. Let us know what you think about this week's show. Send an email to brewandshavers@gmail.com or text to our text line 318-390-3599. We look forward to hearing from you. Thank you again for listening to the Brew and Shaver Sports Podcast. See you next week.